There was quite a bit that actually happened in this episode, although for me it was great to finally meet several members of the Phantom Troupe.
Hunter x Hunter, Episode 41, Gathering of Heroes.
Wow, and things are really heating up over here. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and excellently woven tale of Hunter x Hunter. Our last episode, of course, saw us with really a nice action-packed episode as we were introduced to a few of the other potential bodyguards and Kurapika, as well as Melody, Baze, and what was his name? Botero? I forget. I forget. Anyway, nonetheless, though, it wound up really ending off with us kind of seeing Gon and Killua heading to York New City, and that's where things wound up leaving off, and that's right where things actually pick up. It's a couple weeks before the auction, at least from their timeline perspective, when they were kind of approaching York New City. And when they get there, they now have that URL to the Hunter-only website. They go to a local library, internet cafe, whatever, what have you. They log in, and when they log in, and actually they go into kind of like this virtual bar cafe type thing, and they have to pay like 20 million Jenny just to get information on Greed Island from the bartender. But the bartender explains that this was actually created by like a Nen user, and the game is actually like Nen based. I don't know how to explain it any better than that, other than that you have to be a Nen user to actually play it and use it, and when you do play it, you actually go into the game, right? So that's kind of cool, and I'm actually looking forward to that one. And then he goes on to explain that, out of the 100 copies that were created, this and that, there's going to be 7 of them available at the auction here in York New City, but the lowest starting bid is 8.9 billion Jenny, and which is more than they even. And first of all, they only got 800 million from their Heaven's Arena fights Gon and Killua do, but this is like way beyond even the retail price, which was like 5 point something billion Jenny. So. Nonetheless, though, we find out, and then we also find out some background history. There was even one purchaser of a copy of it that hired 50 Nen users, we presume hunters, maybe, whatever, to go into this game, and none of them return, because if you die in the game, you die in real life. So, very cool stuff, and kind of sets us up for what's going to happen on the horizon, probably maybe in the next arc or the arc after that. I'm not quite sure, because I don't watch or read ahead or anything like that. But nonetheless, though, they try to go on sites like similar, I guess, like eBay and things like that to try to go and buy some things and then, of course, sell them at a higher price. Start out doing well, but by the end of the day, they've lost most of their money because they've gone on some shady sites that Killua took them to. And unfortunately, big risk, big reward, but it can also be very bad, too, obviously because of that risk. So that's kind of the first portion of this episode in a nutshell. So then we go, and the next portion of it goes and takes us back to Kurapika and the other 3, Melody, Baze, and Balzo. I again forgot the names. But they wind up coming back, and they were tasked with going out and finding these different types of rare, like, human body parts, basically. I mean, Kurapika winds up bringing back some hair from, I don't know, some kind of hair from some famous person, a princess, something along those lines. A mummified arm is brought back by one of the other guys. A skull from a horned creature. Some scales from some kind of person with a skin disease or what. Just real weird stuff that this person collects. Anyway, we wind up getting introduced to the guy that we saw on the TV, I guess, in the last episode or the couple episodes before that actually kind of tasked him with this. And he's the head bodyguard, Dalzalone. And he winds up going to take things like, now you're going to go and you're hired. 4 of you are hired. We got this job. The boss is going to the auction and needs to be escorted from the airport for the 90-minute drive to the hotel or wherever they're going to be. And this is what we got to do. So you're all hired. As they're walking down the hall, though, they wind up seeing this creepy sort of like, it looks like a painting, but like a lifelike painting of a person coming out of the wall. And we wind up finding out that that was actually a previous bodyguard. It was one of them that they're actually replacing. And it was somebody who did not do his job properly, I guess. So apparently this is sort of a do your job or die type of situation. Then we wind up getting introduced to who they're protecting, the boss, right? And the boss is actually the daughter of the real underworld boss, and she's like this cute little sort of like purple-haired, pink-haired bubblegum girl named Neon, right? And I don't know, maybe like a teenager or something, if that, you know. The whole thing about her, though, we wind up seeing as they're going, and this goes back and forth, too, because we also wind up seeing first a bunch of kind of shady characters that are going and meeting up, and I actually wrote down some of the names over here. We got, let's see here, Pokonadu, Skullnark, Finks, Banalov, Uvo, Kurapika, let's see here, Uvagun? Yeah, Uvagun, Machi, Franklin, Nobunaga, and Phaeton. And we wind up finding out during the course of the episode these different sort of shady characters. First, they just kind of take us to this area where some of them are just kind of meeting up. And they're all these unique, cool-looking, just really neat, unique characters. You know, you got the big, burly-looking dude, and you got, like, this extremely sexy chick, the sort of, like, nerdy, like, with the glasses, and sort of like the hot school teacher chick. Just a bunch of different really cool motley crew of characters meeting up. And we find out that it's the Phantom Troupe. Now, we find out that there's 13 of these members, and I don't know if these are like members of like kind of like heads of the different sects or sections or gangs of the Phantom Troupe, or if the Phantom Troupe themselves is only 13 people, period. All I know is we wind up finding out from some of the other ones that we're introduced to some of the other characters, Phaeton and his group. There's 4 other ones that are kind of walking through the desert to the meeting up point. And they're talking about how the boss hasn't called a meeting of all 13 of them in 3 years. And since that time, 2 of the seats have actually changed, 2 of the members, you know, and Hisoka is one of the newer members. And it doesn't seem like he's very well liked amongst his peers, but I don't think Hisoka gives 2 shits, number one, because we know he's not even really there for anything other than, I think, amusement and sport, and I think eventually to go and turn on some of these people. I don't know, you know, or to... Who knows what his deal is, but I just know that, you know, some people are afraid of Hisoka because of his strength. Others just play it off like he's no big deal. But I think Hisoka is the real deal and somebody not to be trifled with. Anyways, though, we also wind up finding out that this Neon, before we see those characters walking through the desert, we wind up seeing this motorcade of cars coming from the airport as Neon lands, and all of her bodyguards and whatnot are going to go and protect her. And she's got some work to do, and we find out that she's this ghost writer, and she can use this power of like this angelic ghost writing, where she's able to pretty much predict the future and tell people's fortunes, and it's something that her father, who we're not formally introduced to, but we do see him as she talks to him on the phone in an office somewhere off wherever his mansion is, or wherever he resides. But we can tell that the daughter, and Kurapika makes mention of this to I think Baze, you know, says, listen, I believe that the father realizes how important the daughter is, and that the daughter, because of her powers, strengthens his ties to the underworld. So that's why he's so just completely anal about making sure she's protected, because his enemies would want to get a hold of her and use that against him. So, but this ability that she has is like a fortune-telling type ability. And it's kind of neat when she goes and summons it. All of a sudden, there's this weird sort of little, like, kind of messed up looking, like, cherub that's, like, over her hand and just sort of, like, writing with her hand, you know, for this ghost writing ability. But anyway, she winds up going, and that's obviously something that's her power, and that's something that her father leverages with some of his, you know, major player type of friends in the underworld. And, you know, she's able to tell these fortunes. We find out later on, though, as the bodyguard is talking, you know, it winds up talking to the father and explaining, hey, listen, I deciphered these fortunes. First of all, she can't read her own fortune. And second of all, when she does read a fortune, or write one down, she doesn't remember what she actually wrote afterwards, right? So it truly is like her channeling or summoning like this ability, but she doesn't even have any memory or knowledge of it after it happens. That, you know, of what actually transpired, what was written down. But I guess the whole idea here is that these 4 all had a similar fortune, and that they're all going to be in danger if they come to this auction in York, New City. And that's what everything's building up towards, the auction. Everybody converging on the auction. That's what it's about. And then we wind up going, and I think it's kind of cool, the end of the chapter goes, or episode, I'm sorry, winds up going and wrapping up with Phaeton and his group, his 2 or 3 that were with him, meeting up with the other ones that are there in this kind of weird, sort of broken down looking building or what have you, you know. Looks like something out of like an RPG, like a crumbled castle, crumbled, you know, whatever. And they're in here, and it's kind of dark and gloomy and everything, and they're all pissed off because it's the next morning, and they've all been waiting, and Hisoka's still not there. And then this bigger dude winds up going, and he's just like, I think it was, actually, if I remember correctly, the bigger dude was, it was Nobunaga, maybe it was Machi, I forget now. But anyway, he goes and he's got like this big fur trim thing and whatnot, you know, and he's just like, I'm gonna kill him the next time I see him. And then all of a sudden you get like the candle next to him blows out and you get like just all creepy Hisoka from around the corner like, hello, boys, you know? And I just love the guy because he's just, all of a sudden he's just like, ooh, what a terrible thing to say. You know, or something along those lines. But we wind up eventually going in, and the end of the episode really is the boss finally coming out. The boss comes out and says that we're going to, the whole reason they were all brought together is they're going to steal from the York New City auction. It's this huge auction that people come from all around the world to get all these rare items. And they're like, what are we going to steal? Games? Gems? What, you know, what priceless this and that, artifacts? And he's like, nope, everything. Dude stands up and comes out of the shadows, and he's got like this cross on his head. Looks like this creepy, almost vampire-like character, you know, kind of hair slicked back. And I don't know, again, just sort of reminds me of like Dracula or like Alucard, the son of Dracula, or something along those lines. But comes out, he's like, we're going to steal everything. So he winds up giving the word, and we know that the Phantom Troupe is going to converge on there and kill anybody that gets in your way. That's the other thing. So now that ties into Neon and her predictions, you know, that obviously she gave to, you know, to some of her father's friends, clients, associates, what have you. And then we know, too, that Kurapika is going and seeking, you know, they wind up finding out as well. The actual end of the episode is that the bodyguards, Kurapika and Melody and on base, they're told that they're going to go in lieu of Neon because there's danger. They're not going to let, Neon's father's not going to let her go. But though they're going to go there, money's not money is not an object. It's not a problem. And just they're basically to go there to bid, you know, for these items. And they show these 3 different items, and one of them's like this mummified body or this full intact body of like some princess or queen or something along those lines. And then one of the things, though, the last thing is actually Akurta's eyes. You know what I mean? The scarlet eyes of Akurta. So that obviously perks Kurapika's heart rate up because Melody kind of looks over with a little gopher face like, oh, geez. And I keep forgetting it's a girl. Nonetheless, though, the episode ends with Kurapika, you know, kind of standing on the balcony and like, you know, he knows, I keep saying he knows that the shit's about to go down and that this is where the Phantom Troupe is going to be and that there's going to be a lot of bad underworld types that are converging here. So, you know, he's going to have the opportunity to hopefully get some of his revenge and take out some of that angst that he has built up, you know, which rightfully so. Anyway, great episode, though. A lot of fun. A lot of stuff happened in there, too. And actually, that's why I had to keep stopping and, like, writing down names and whatnot, because I try to remember these things. And how many of these Phantom Troupe members will actually come into play later on, I don't know. But I do know that any type of, you know, in any medium, manga, anime, comic, TV work, when they actually introduce a character and they say their name, generally that means that they're going to appear again in some way, shape, or form. So I like to try to assimilate and remember as many of them as I can. But my episode question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is what are your thoughts on this motley crew, this assortment of the Phantom Troupe? We haven't really seen any of their powers yet, but just based solely on their looks and the designs of each character, I personally thought that each one was very unique and had a very cool, very slick look to them. But I'd like to know what your opinion is, what your thoughts are. Leave the answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it. Excuse me. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and my second channel. Thank you.